Hello, guys.
You use the same slides. You have my name here.
Oh, where is host hero? Yeah, this is a bit of a change. No, it was actually for the IT for the school I did, but yeah,
nice.
I just found
Thanks for sharing. Thanks for the shout out. All right.
Hello everyone, and thank you for having me, Kunal, and for MLH Major League Hacking. So a bit about me. As mentioned a bit earlier, I am Sako, working in a company called OpenGov, and I am mainly doing DevOps and infrastructure security. And I am based in here in San Francisco. And beside from that, I love doing open source contributions where I end up meeting Kunal as well. And he had amazing sessions, so that's how I get to know him. And we have couple contribution. Also, we have also did architecting for the company called MetaBob, and built while I was in school project called JobHacks, which is again open source, and GoUp is also open source project where around 2,000 community members helping folks to accelerate their open source journey. At the same time, I was also contributor in Google Summer of Code 2019, where I worked for the SNCF project called Layer 5, Meshery. And it was amazing journey, learn a lot from the folks like Lee Calcutta. So it's briefly about me, and pretty much today's topic is also gonna be around open source project, because I think if you're in DevOps or production engineering, if you use a lot of open source project, and getting engaged with community will give you a couple advantages in a way that you can talk to the people who are behind this project. And most of the time it happens also documentation is not up to date, or kind of you want to see the roadmap, clear roadmap, you can always contact them, and it will help you also to be successful in your DevOps role. So briefly, this is about me. And today's agenda, I will now switch to the chit chat, and I think just to a bit better understand your expectation from this session. Again, I think quote of the session is, by the time we finish, the content may be obsolete, because the velocity of tooling and that future all these releases happening so fast, it's really for me even hard to catch it up with things going on. So just keep in mind that you always have to look for things coming up, and if you are enjoy learning, I think that you will enjoy also this field. So let's switch to chit chat. I think I will just post the quickly 1 second. Okay, there is a link I am gonna post in the chat. So it's pretty much to just to give us idea what you're expecting or what you would like to learn, just to cover it a bit. So I think, yeah, I think please, yeah, just try to add in the board that I think if you haven't used here is how you're gonna use it, just add a sticky note that what you would like to learn. And
so yeah, there's a link in the chat. Maybe you all can open that up. And awesome. This link is basically about, you can share all your questions and what are your expectations from this particular talk. If there's like a live demo you would like to see, if you want to see, like we already see a nice question here, what is service mesh? Maybe you can share about what are various tools to get started with, what are various open source projects you can use for service mesh, so many other, what is it used for? That's a good question. What are some communities to join? Yeah, see so many. That's nice. What are microservices? When to use service mesh? That is great. Yeah.
You guys have seen already the slides. I feel like that's all relevant questions. I think even we moved chit chat a bit, so let me get it back. Oops. How long does it take to get into service mesh? What is used for?
Yeah, main structures. It's good questions.
Yep, cybersecurity. Yes, exactly. You guys, how is this related to DevOps? Okay, I will try to remember as much and to try to cover, but if still anything missed, feel free to ask as a question. I will be happy to take it. So, oh man. So I think the dashboard is gonna be also nice to be shared after, Kunal. I think that's really nice question.
Yeah, for sure.
We need to bit. Okay. So yeah, I think I see related to DevOps, I see related to cybersecurity, drawbacks of service mesh, when to use it and why. That's also a great question. And what are microservices? We will have it. What does it do? The service meshes, and what languages are used in service meshes? How is created? I guess I assume that how service mesh is getting created. Is it correct? Or how it's installed when to use service mesh? Given a small personal project, should one use service mesh? Well, yeah, I think I will. That's also a good point. I think so. Okay, I think we can get back to our slide deck. I think most of the questions we will try on the slide, and some of them I will keep for the Q&A. For example, the projects, should you use it for the small project or not? I think it will be better to go more in that part, how important this in SRE day-to-day work. Okay, I think SRE DevOps, we will refer both terms in the same way in this case. So, okay, cool. Let's get back to our slides. Thank you, guys. It's really interactive session. I really enjoyed the questions you are asking. So now let's get to the presentation. So, boom. I think first things we will need, so in a way that from the traditional perspective, when applications were getting developed, it was mainly the monolithic, and it was using the waterfall model. And if you don't know the terms, definitely later on you can also go and check. So pretty much waterfall, what was meaning, the software was getting released in 3 or 6 months, and where also development team was separate from the operation team. So what it meant that developers were developing for a long time, and then they were giving the binary or the source code as a monolithic and giving to operation team, where they were supposed to go and run in production, where there were coming a lot of problems and all these different challenges, where the DevOps term came together with Agile, which means you should ship fast, and you should ship more frequently and more faster. So in that sense, DevOps came, and the term came also Agile, which means currently there are companies like Uber and so on, they are releasing software every day, couple times. So this is where it came as new terms. So first one is Agile, the second is DevOps, and there was also this 12-factor for application deployment, the new standards once you are developing your application. So I will go through each one, and I think it's good to know. If please go also check me more details what each one means. So Codebase, version control systems like GitHub, GitLab, all these, most of the applications source code should end up being dependency for your application. Yeah, explicitly declare and isolate. So meaning all your application dependencies should be close to your application, meaning in a way that when it came to from traditional way to the microservices, these libraries and so on, all of them are close to the application needs. So if you deploy them in one or another operating system or a different cluster, etc., it won't make difference. So configuration management. So you need this configuration to be stored either in environment or in a way that you don't need to redeploy application. That's meaning for that. And backing services, like once you have this stateful application and all this stuff, that's meaning that you need to be able to attach these to the resources. So building, releasing, running, in order to, you have this in a DevOps term that once you build your application and then you are releasing and then you are running. So you need to have a clear isolation between these things. So processes, execute, as mentioned, that one or more stateless processes, port binding, and concurrency, disposability, dev prod parity, where you need as much they're similar to each other, logs you need to have, and then run task as one of the process. So this is the 12-factor app development, which is currently in standard application development when you are developing. So to follow this, please later on go also check each one details. So this is kind of intro, I will say, to the microservices in a way that's from standards perspectives. Now let's come to monolithic apps. So that's how things started traditionally. Monolithic architecture, so, and we have microservice architecture and monolithic architecture. So monolithic is easy and simple in when you start to develop, test, deploy, scale, because all you have is only just one code base where you add features and you can run in your development laptop once it's smaller, and then you just add testing around and deploy, and that's it. So as you can see, it was usually also before like called LAMP stack, where you had this Linux, Apache, MySQL were using. So, but these things start changing when the tech boom happened, that where most of the application become using more and more traffic going to this, like Google and all the stuff, where you have these millions of requests going on. So it created the need for the something called microservices. So what are the microservices? It's also an architecture style which is currently used by most of them companies. It's in a way that you define, you break down your single application code into the functional and logical pieces, where each of them run as independently, and there is a communication between them over REST API. Currently also using GraphQL, and it's again, it's just anything between you can use. But the point is, also there is a term called pizza team, where two pizza team, where your pretty much team should not be bigger than the 14 people. I think that's also came with microservices, where there is no interoperability, breaking changes, and so on, because each service can be run independently. And let's say if one of them getting bug and so on, it will break your application partially. You won't be probably seeing shopping cart, but you will still be able to go and browse in the application, for example, in Amazon case. So that's a term for the microservices. It's just how you can break down your application to functional pieces. That's it. So now let's come to the Kubernetes, and now we have this now about the microservices term. That's great. Now that our application has components like 5 or 10 functional components which are running. So now the question, how we run. So where Kubernetes coming to the place. So Kubernetes, in that sense, will help you automate the deployment, scaling, management of your containerized applications. So again, your application should be stateless, meaning that it should be able to horizontal scale, and it should run only the application which are containerized. So in traditional way, how it was, you had monolithic application and it was running in virtual machines or EC2 instances in Amazon terms, where you just pull the latest source code and you were running that. So it was in a way stateful, and you were also connecting to the database, which was another VM instance, for example. So that was how it is. And oftentimes it was operation heavy, because if there was something, an issue in the server or trouble, you needed, or system admins needed to go, or production engineers in your terms, go and debug the code. So, and this Kubernetes is based on Google's internal tool called Borg. So what they did, this extensive experience with the Borg and internal tooling for their own application systems, they open sourced and called it Kubernetes. So it picked up, and it's now more and more companies and projects there have adapted, and they are on the way to adopt the Kubernetes. And how it helps, yeah. And you have this automated rollout, rollbacks, all these stuff which were taking a lot of engineering time. Now Kubernetes abstracted all this storage orchestration. You can connect your from AWS or Google Cloud or any other on-prem any databases you want to your cluster. So you don't need to care about drivers and all these different things. So it's the dual stack. It's automatic bin packing, and all this self-healing that service discovery, all this stuff, secret management, batch execution, horizontal scaling, design for extensibility, that you can also add stuff that as Kubernetes operator and so on to your cluster. So this is pretty much the key features from the Kubernetes, but in general, it's the purpose of Kubernetes, how to make your application more scalable, more reliable, in a way that it can, you have more control over. You can always go and check debugging, and all this stuff makes so much easier. And at the same time, it is immutable, meaning in a sense that once you have your containers or application running, and if you want to release new version, it will be a rolling update where you won't have any downtime. And so, and if there is any error, any issue, Kubernetes will go automatically restart your application. So this is Kubernetes in a nutshell. It's the first time, I think I hope it gave some idea, but feel free to interrupt, ask question. But yeah, that's basically, you have your applications, and Kubernetes is just cluster where your application will be deployed and run. So service mesh. So now we have this Kubernetes, but how the service mesh, where the service mesh coming to the picture? And service mesh is sitting on top of the Kubernetes, where you see now all these coming to the picture. We talked about microservices, we know about service mesh, we know about Kubernetes. So it's doing three things. One is traffic management, second is security, and third is visibility or observability. So here are the general terms for the service mesh technologies, because we're going to talk about one of them, Istio, but there are a lot of service meshes, and in a way that they do a couple features. So pretty much they don't try to solve all these things mentioned, but in general, yeah, the purpose of service mesh to be able to do these three things. Again, how to have more visibility in your application, how to see like request, how much time it takes, like Zipkin tracing that you can see between your microservices. Because in microservices environment where you have the microservice deployed, imagine you have, and again, Uber and all their, they also publish the application map where you have thousands of microservices running. And what does it mean? The microservices also makes it complex. You have now so many microservices talking to each other. When there is a problem, it's hard to really understand what is going on. So in that perspective, service meshes help you give more visibility in your environment and the flow, that the logical flows you wouldn't see otherwise. So security, and for the security perspective, there is a term called TLS, MTLS, between the services. So between your services, and you can have more control, and encryption between them, which is not really by default in Kubernetes. So the idea of service mesh, they said, okay, we want to do security, visibility, and traffic management, but we don't want to bring it to the application, the logic to the inside application. So they thought, okay, why not just we create a second container in next to the application container and attach these two containers, which they will do all these functions that application will be infrastructure agnostic and will keep it clean. So that was whole purpose for service mesh. It came together with IBM, Google, and Lyft, and it's using for the data plane proxy called Envoy, the sidecar, which is called. So this is pretty much about the service mesh, what it is, service mesh in a nutshell. So, and again, it's the same thing we're gonna today talk about in the demo as well, about the Istio. And Istio, again, it's also pretty much doing these things like service mesh supposed to do, which is actually Istio was the first when they came out also with this term service meshes and bringing all this functionality to the Kubernetes. But now there are other service meshes they are picking up, I think, and we will see also in the landscape that other service meshes. So Layer 5 is a community where they have, I will also switch to that slide, to that website and show you guys the landscape for service meshes. So all the service meshes, you pretty much can go and see pros, cons, which one they support, and so on. And in that same, we will use also Meshery tool that also help you to abstract to installing and playing with service mesh a bit more easier. And it's also performance management tool, so you can do benchmarking between different service meshes. And it has also the functionality like you can check the configuration, validate configuration, and make sure that it's compliant for the service mesh standards. So that's the main things Meshery will help to do. Again, also amazing community Layer 5, where again, I was also happy to be part of, and I also pushed the initial version for Meshery CTL, the command line for the Meshery. So okay, and before going demo, I will just, I think, yeah, our demo will be in pretty much install the Meshery and install Istio and install application. Again, application is sample application from the Istio website. It's called booking for sample application. So we will go in the demo and run it and pretty much get a bit sense of what we can do. Again, you don't need any cloud or something for this demo to run. Later also I will push in the GitHub repo in more cleaner way, and we'll let Kunal share with you folks. But you should be able to play in instant Docker desktop, Minikube, or any single running on local Kubernetes environment. So just before going to the demo, I think, I will go to Layer 5 and just landscape to show you the service meshes. So you can see the service meshes, all of them tracked here. The functional, you can go and see the differences. So you see there are a lot of service meshes. There is no right or wrong. It's just depending on use case. You can go pick one and play with that. But again, there is no right or wrong, because sometimes you want something lightweight, sometimes you want a performance, and that's where you see like they have each their own kind of benefits when you use. So, okay, Cool. Now let's switch demo. Kunal, how we are doing this time? Are we good?
Yeah, we still have like 30 minutes.
Okay, awesome. So let's.
But before we jump into the demo, does anyone has any questions?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You can unmute yourself and ask your question as well. All right, maybe we can move forward then.
Okay, awesome. So again, 1 second. Coming back to what we saw, and this is our sample application where, as you see, that we have the sample, the front end of the application called product page, and then there is microservices, reviews version 1 and 2, and details page, which in the end we should be able to go and in localhost be able to hit that page. So that's for about our demo. So first we're gonna need to start the Meshery CTL. I think Meshery CTL start. We're gonna start this system. So it's pretty much should be straightforward. Awesome. So as we can see here, just if you are using Mac, but there is also for all other operating systems. Just for my case, it was Mac using the brew installed Meshery CTL, the command line as mentioned. So you come here and you log in with your Google. So, but you just come select, and what we're gonna count, we're gonna use Istio this time. Oops. Management. Oops. Oops. Let's see. So we're gonna pick Istio. Oops. Are we having so again we're gonna have to maybe debug, but let's see. But it's supposed to be fine. Istio, yep. Let's see what's gonna give errors. Oops. So let's go now to in. So again, folks, you're gonna need to check in the cluster. I think I done it. It was fine, but again, it's also good to get understanding what's going on because. Okay. Get namespaces. We have this Meshery.
The demo gods are not with you.
Yeah, I think it's good also we get understanding.
There's a question. Is Meshery open source or is it like a paid service?
Yeah, Meshery is open source. It's completely free. And looks the pod should be there. We're gonna need to see again. Service meshes, environments. We have but we may switch to do the manually, but I think I will still try. Let's environments. We have this. So I run the demo and then I reset the cluster in order to redo with you guys, but I think I'm seeing this should disabled. So we may need to run it manually, but install service mesh. still complaining. Meshery, because we're supposed to, but looks not. I think we should be able to select Docker. No, it's yeah. I think it's we have the issue is can't get to the cluster, but let's try one more time. If not, okay, does it came? Meshery is yeah. Nope. Okay, let's switch to the command line. Sorry, Kanal, I think it's we should be able to. Okay. So here is with a command line. I think we can we're supposed to run in the book info. So we will start with a platform setup. Let's say let's come and install this istio-ctl. We're gonna go for that. It's probably needed better for me to run everything up the second time, but yeah, it just. But I think you should be able to, yeah. So pretty much gonna install the istio from the binary. I think that's pretty much we're gonna follow that. Okay. Okay, we're gonna add this one. And pretty much I'm gonna put it here. And we're gonna install this. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna switch install istio with the command line. Because again, the UI is supposed to abstract all this, but I think something went wrong with the Meshery. I think for the sake of time, we will just go and install istio command line. So that's all the same guy. It's you should in the GUI if there is error is not descriptive and so on. I think you can always go with command line and install it. But I will debug and let you guys what was the issue after. So, but the point is, we have now a cluster. You see it in the Docker desktop. Probably I needed to show it to you guys first. So there is a. We come here. So you can see my screen still, yeah. The Kubernetes. You see like enable Kubernetes. We need to enable the Kubernetes in the Docker because in the Docker desktop, and then your context will be switching to the Docker desktop. That's the only thing you need to do.
We have a question in the chat.
Yep, let's go for that. Is Meshery open source? Yes, I think we said. At what point the development do you comment to add service mesh? For example, in our most recent project, we deployed the town to EC2 instead, apply Nginx reverse proxy, and then obtain SSLs. And what point will be okay? That's a great point. If you have the personal project, I think from cost perspective, it's really doesn't really add much. For example, I have a school project running over a year, which is in instance running, no container, nothing, and it's over 2 years. So it's one just instance, as you said, you have this Nginx in front, and which is taking the certificate from the Let's Encrypt, and it just works fine. So for this kind of project, even in such a big scale, you don't need. But once you build a kind of, it becomes critical application, you would be better consider all this. But if not in that scale, if it's up to 1,000 users, let's say, you really don't need, which will add extra cost and so on. But it's good again for learning purposes, but from criticality perspective, it's not, it should be manageable. So I think we hope. So now we see we installed Istio. So what it's kubectl is command line to check the pods. So we can see here we have ingress egress gateway, which is kind of the gateway for the cluster itself, and we have this tracing installed, Kiali, Prometheus, Grafana, which are the observability tooling of the Istio. So once we install it, and what we need to do, we need to label. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with Kubernetes, but again, just it's get the pods, which is a term like for the applications. It's like logical unit for the application that containers your application. Once you have this Docker file for your application, it's building it, and it's building as a container image. You're pushing to your Docker Hub or ECR or any this container registry, and then when it's pulling, it's creating inside the pod. So inside the pod, you can have multiple containers, but they will share the same. It will act as in the same host. They will share the same IP and so on. So, and what we're gonna do pretty much once after install with Istio, we will just go. There is also things logical isolated called namespaces. So you can have multiple namespaces and per team and so on. You can bring everything in namespace. The namespaces are completely isolated from each other. So what we're gonna do here, we're just gonna label the default namespace Istio injection enabled, and before the deploy. So it will mean that whatever application we bring in the default namespace, it's gonna use the Istio. So, and we're gonna now go and deploy our application, bootcamp application. It's again, it can be anything as a YAML file, or it can be in a Helm chart installed. But so once we install it, we will go and check the pods, application pods running. So we can see it's saying 2 because one will be the sidecar where we, as earlier discussed, security, observability, and traffic management will be pushed to there. And we can always see -v watching, and we can see how the application are coming up. So awesome. So again, it's there is minimum requirement, but if you allocate 8 GB and so on for your Docker, that's why I think that should be enough. For my case, I think I did 13 GB allocated, but yeah, I think we should be able to timing see it. So the sources, you can see I put 13 GB and these 4 CPUs, but it's a bit heavy in that sense. So anything more than 6 GB, I think it would be better. So to spin up application faster as well. So here we can also see the services for application. It's Kubernetes get services. And we will see that the product page, the one we're supposed to see, it's this one gonna be the main page. And let's now we're gonna need so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a gateway, associate this product with the application with
there's a question. The question is, what's the purpose of Istio? Is it to monitor our Kubernetes pods?
So Istio is a control plane, and so it's doing 3 things. So from I know it's a lot for this short amount session. So Istio is doing three things. Service mesh Istio, you can say inter-exchangely these terms, three things: security, observability, and traffic management. Traffic management meaning you can write the routing for your application level. Say, hey, send this user to that application instance, send this to V2, send this to V1. V1 can talk to V2, V2 cannot talk outside. So all this traffic management, it's adding on top of that. So three things, again, security, traffic management, and observability. So I hope it covers the question. Okay, yeah, so in that sense, for our pods, if you think about it, yeah, it's adding some monitoring, but again, Kubernetes also has this monitoring for pods and so on, and it's just out of box some observability that you don't need really configure and so on, which I'm going to show as well. So now we have this booking for application gateway installed, and let me quickly check before I can show you guys. Yep. Oops. So I think the gateway is created. Let's check the application. So nice. All our applications are running now. So, and we're gonna do, so what it's gonna do, it's gonna make sure that we don't have any issue. No validation found for online S default. Awesome. So our application is supposed to be good, and we're gonna make sure that and port was successful. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so this is again we have ingress port and source ingress port, which now we're gonna check echo this our port. So this is the port we are running. I think what we're gonna do. Okay, we should be able to now see, okay. Product page, 1 second. So we're gonna open still get, let's open our monitoring tools. We're gonna see, so still CTL. So that is new, actually command in a way. We're gonna run Prometheus first. Let's see the some of the out-of-box observability tools. So this is gonna open this. This is the Prometheus, so it's what it's gonna do. Once we run the dashboard, we should be able to go and yeah, play with that. This is the graph, and it will show us some of the key metrics we want to run. So there is define the metrics, and you can see there are a lot here. So let's see if we can see. Yeah, let's now just go to this other one. So pretty much we're gonna bring this now the tracing, and we're gonna do the same for the Grafana. If we do Grafana, it's gonna open Grafana. So Grafana is getting that as a source from the Prometheus, and as a data source, you can see that we're gonna save and test, and there is dashboards for that, and which is second. Oops. Yeah, I think we should be able to see the default Istio dashboard. So yeah, pretty much it's gonna give this nice dashboard where you can monitor the Istio or for your application related. Let's see what else we have for Mixer, performance, service dashboard, workload dashboard. So if any traffic is coming and going and some other. So that's the thing, we haven't configured anything. It's just out of box. It's gonna show you some nice dashboards. So this is pretty much what Grafana gonna do. Again, data source gonna take from the Prometheus in this case. And we can also, let's check now also Kiali, I think, and also we should be able to see the Zipkin, but let's check the Kiali. And I think that there is for the Kiali the password we're gonna need to add, but let's yeah, let's go for the Zipkin. This is, again, it's the tracing piece. Oops, I think, was it Zipkin tracing? Yeah, 1 second. CTL. Zipkin. It's supposed to be that dashboard Zipkin. Yep, no Zipkin found. Okay. But we have this Zipkin installed. No. Okay, I think it didn't install the Zipkin by default. But yeah, let's see if we can quickly install the Zipkin. Zipkin, this, okay. Zipkin. So it says didn't install, but let's try to install now Zipkin. Okay, now Zipkin installed. Let's check that it's installed here. Do we see Zipkin? Yeah, now we see the Zipkin here. And we're gonna open the dashboard for the Zipkin now, which is another, so pretty much here, it's gonna show that the tracing that between the services and time zone and which was mentioning. And this is pretty much the monitoring tooling around that for the service mesh, the tooling it will bring up. So now let's get back, and I think we're gonna need to add port forwarding for our application. 1 second, which we're gonna use as a port forwarding for our application. Okay, so let's come. So now let's try to open our application again. Guys, sorry for between Meshery. I think we're gonna need to do manually, but let's see. So we have this product page. Now, if you wanna port forward this to our local host, what we're gonna do, we're gonna run kubectl port forward. We're gonna take this port, and we're gonna say, I think we're gonna check the first which port it's running, its service. We see like this is running port 980. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna do this guy, and we're gonna add 980, 980. So now it's forwarding. So let's try to open this in our browser. 980. Okay. Oops. Can I bring it 1 second? Oops. I need to make it smaller. And yeah, here is our application, guys. Sorry, we needed to go a bit CLI way. I think that's why I like CLI. That's usually it's really better, but that's our sample application pretty much. Now we should be able to see that as a microservice, what we were discussing. Nice. Yeah, I think that's the thing, guys. Yeah, like even so, I have years of experience with that. All these, these things that you always get different. I think it's still in development, and obviously you miss some stuff. So that's a also great way to show you guys there are some stuff on spot you need as a production engineer to go as a workaround and make a quick decision. I think that's also from that perspective, it shows that things can go wrong anytime. That is, that's correct. It's the point is just don't stuck, just take another route and work around it and make things work. Yeah, I think what we have done, we just went through, I think, with our approach, we just installed with Mesh. Again, I will get back to you guys, and once I check it out, but we installed this too, and we install our application, which is currently running in our local cluster. And I think we can switch to the questions now. Kunal?
Yeah, we still have like 5 more minutes left.
Oh,
4 now.
Is it including the questions?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is it
because there's another session after this.
Okay. I see. So we can go back also to Jamboard, and if you guys have any live question, you can feel free.
Yeah, feel free to share in the chat, or you can also ask like by unmuting yourself. Yeah.
Yep. So I think
I believe I answered most of these.
Yeah, we answered most of this. That's great. So I think David, please go ahead.
Yeah. Seiko and Kunal, thank you for coming. I do have a question regarding to Istio. So there are some service meshes at the top, like on top of Kubernetes. So, and I understand that, it adds monitoring, security, and traffic on top of Kubernetes. I think Kubernetes, for us, we're pretty beginners. So I'm wondering, there's a lot of these services that Kubernetes offers, right? So I'm wondering, compared to Istio and Kubernetes, is there something that's value added for using a top layer on top of the Kubernetes that you can maybe explain, like a TLDR type of summary for us?
So I will tell you one thing. It's still the service meshes. It's supposed to be, the adoption rate is not that fast. Like if you look, because what happened, Kubernetes keep adding features at the same time. Other providers like Datadog, New Relic, Sumo, they keep adding features. There is no strong need for the service mesh in today's environment. As you say, it's kind of still between nice to have and good to have, I would say. Yes, there is a lot of stuff we currently running in multiple places in production environment without any Istio, and it works great. Again, it also depends on your application, but can still see now more and more companies coming and asking for Istio, and especially in fintech and so on, where blockchain and all these technologies, they want to have more visibility, more security, all this stuff. They want to have extra layer. But yeah, if you have the Kubernetes, you can still without Istio survive and don't feel a need for a long time. So